Hi, I'm Tim from Toy Tinker Tim, and I'm cleaning up this vintage Mattel Major Matt Mason. It's a toy before my time of hitting the toy aisles, but a very cool toy. It's created and launched during a turning point in history known as the space race. So I'm sharing with you my process to clean and restore this vintage Major Matt Mason figure to a more recognizable, fresh appearance. First, I'm going to back it up a little bit here and go over just to scratch the surface on this figure's background for those of you unfamiliar here with Major Matt Mason. So a quick search on the space race will tell you it spanned the years 1955 to 72. It was during the Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States. It was a highly accelerated time of space exploration and ultimately the lunar landing by the United States. So Matt Mason was marketed to the hype of the space race, and although its origins kicked off on a real-world premise, the line of toys veered into more science fiction type adventure sets. This Major Matt Mason figure is actually in pretty good physical shape. He's really rough, grungy shape, though. His internal wire frame is solid. There's no broken wires in any of his limbs. And I'll go over that wiring a little bit later in this episode. But I'll be showing you the process that I take to clean and restore this iconic space figure into his awesome space race glory. The challenge going into this is approaching a cleaning process to remove the years of this gunk stuck to the figure without removing the paint on the flexible figure. A lot of these figures you'll see have paint missing, and that's not just from storage or age, but from play wear. You know, the paint came off easily because of the soft, flexible nature of the toy, so it would end up scraping off from handling or fitting the figure in and out of vehicles or just, play wear. But don't call him a rubber action figure. He's made out of something more futuristic sounding of a material, plastisol. By definition, plastisol, polyvinyl chloride, based plastic, heavily mixed with liquid plasticizer. So they mix that up to get to the desired end result consistency. But Mattel had been using plastisol in other toys, like Barbie dolls. Think of the legs, the heads, prior to Major Matt Mason coming along. So to start, I'm using the sprayer. It's filled with distilled water and a dilution of 30 milliliters of mean green cleaner and degreaser. So I'm going to spray the figure down and let that sit for a bit. Couldn't you use another cleaner? Yeah, I'm sure. There are others. But as I mentioned here at the beginning, I'm just showing you it's my method. It's not the only one. His wire armature is solid. There's no broken wires. Every section of this figure that would be a point of articulation is a segment of wire. So underneath its flexible exterior is a semi-fragile network of wire posability. So I'm soaking it down. I'm letting it rest for about 10 minutes between spraying and blotting to see how much grime is breaking loose. My reason for going lighter with the chemical is because I don't want to risk damaging and removing paint that is still intact or it might be loose on the figure. That is more important than a quick fix approach for me. You can see a faint outline of the figure from some of that soiling that's washing off here onto the white towel. With this diluted solution, it's making a very slow go of it. I'll repeat this spray soak on the back just to try and keep things even. So I'm using a plastic pipette. It's with the cleaning solution undiluted. It's full strength. And I'm applying that directly to the soiled areas here. I'm going to be letting that soak for a few minutes, and then I'm going to use a soft bristle toothbrush to gently work these spots while it's still wet with the solution. So that seems to be doing the trick here, and as I use the same approach to where there's painted details on this figure, it's not attacking or removing the paint, it's just the grime from what I'm seeing here. And then I'm rinsing this with a spray of distilled water as I go. So I'll just continue this process over the entire figure now. I'm blotting the areas that I've cleaned dry so they don't stay overly wet and get tacky. I'm going to go on here and start with the helmet for now. The most part of it is in really good condition. The helmet here, it's just dirty. The black band at the collar is there. The visor has a majority of its silver painted trim. There's some scuffing to the yellow visor, and on the white areas, especially on the back of the helmet, there's scuffing. So some basic cleaning and then working over both sections of the helmet with plastic polish. If there are some heavy scratches, I can go into those and buff them out, either with the 1500 or 3000 grit sandpaper if it's really bad, and we'll see from there. So I'll be using Dawn dish soap applied to the wet soft bristles on the toothbrush here to give that initial cleaning. And after we get off the grit and stuff, then I can see what needs a little extra TLC here. The visor with its silver painted trim, I'm wanting to do that a little bit differently. I'm going to be cleaning that by just putting a drop of dish soap directly onto there and just using my fingertips to work that around the surface so I don't have anything really too abrasive on that. So after the visor is cleaned up and dry, I can easily see scuffs here. So I'm going to be using my plastic polish. I'm applying that with a cotton swab to the lens, and then I'll just start working that all over the surface. And then after I've gotten that worked around good, you'll see it kind of dries, and then I'll take a dry soft cloth to buff that out good. And for me, this end result is good. You have to look for scratches on the surface of that visor, but this is good. It's how a vintage toy in good condition should look to me. So on the helmet, I didn't realize that the black band is a paper decal. So it lost some of that surface black paper in the cleaning process. So it's an easy touch-up, but not maybe the way you're thinking here. A lot of people will reach for a fine tip black marker, but that's just kind of coloring the paper. It's missing those layers, the black layer, so it's very uneven looking when you do it. So I'm simply using black acrylic paint. I'll be applying that with a very fine tip brush. And once that dries, I'll give it a couple coats of the acrylic gloss varnish there to seal and protect that, and then that will also even out any unevenness in the layers there of the decal. The helmet's done. The black band is all fixed and sealed. The helmet is clean, scuffs are off, and it's looking like a nice condition vintage toy accessory. Right now, this vintage figure really is good as it is. It just, for me personally, I want to address some more cosmetic type elements. So to go about that, the way I'm doing it is with a base of the silver acrylic paint, and I'll mix that into a matte gel. And for me, what this matte gel medium does is it adds a certain amount of additional flexibility. It's non-yellowing, and it does extend the paint. It thins it out a little bit more. So I'm not looking to go heavy on that silver. It's more of kind of a surface treatment just to brighten it back up here. Mixing this acrylic paints, basic element or supply, with the gel medium. It's a good pairing for me to fill in and do just these touch-ups on the rough spots. So again, I'm sharing my process with this project. There's collectors of the figures who will prefer to use a latex mask paint, which if I needed to do a large area of paint that was missing on this figure, like a whole figure repaint, I would definitely look into investing into buying some of that as a solution. But for me, for this spot painting that I'm wanting to do, that's why I'm taking this approach here. So next I'm going to go on into the missing white paint areas, and it's not as simple as just putting on a white paint to get a good match. If you really study the color, this titanium white will be my base, but I'm also adding raw sienna. I've got a cerulean blue hue, and perhaps to your surprise here, I've got some of this Hooker's green hue as well that I'll be adding in with the white. Putting the figure against a solid white background, it's easier to see that the white here isn't just plain white. So I'm also mixing these all together with the matte gel medium to keep that added flex on the figure then when it's dry. So I've got these all mixed together now. It's time to start layering on the paint. These larger areas will need to be built up a bit just by layering that on over and over. The small little dings or patches that have gotten nicked out of paint can probably just be dabbed in and they'll be good as it is then. So the large patch of paint missing here from the seat of his spacesuit is going to dry with a smooth texture. So after I've built it up for a bit with some layers of paint, when the top coat is mainly dry, I'm sprinkling on some cornstarch. And I'll leave that on until I know it's fully dry. And then just with a different brush, I'll brush it off, the loose cornstarch, and then I can repeat that again with another coat of paint until the layers are about even. This will give it a surface appearance to blend in with the surrounding existing paint on the vintage toy figure. So I removed that head to clean the post well, and I applied some cornstarch here as well to prevent any sticking from paint touch-ups. It's just a force-fit peg for his plastisol head, so it just snaps on and off of there. I think he's turned out pretty good, very well. His helmet is nice and clean. Scratches on the visor and the helmet here are greatly minimized. That black band around the base of the helmet is touched up and sealed. He's in really great looking condition, for display here for such a vintage toy. So the figure's clean, paint touch-up is complete, and Major Matt Mason is looking pretty sharp. He's ready to report to his moon base. We'll take a quick look back here at the before and after, and you can see how this figure's come a long way. So taking a quick look here at the patent info, you get a sense of that wire framework I had mentioned, and that provides the articulation for this figure. And so something interesting in the patent is the statement that originally magnets were going to be added into the feet. So it would have been a play feature to help reinforce that zero gravity effect for his adventures there. But as you can see, it didn't make it into production. And like everything else, I'm sure it revolved around money, probably a cause into the final pricing for the figure. I don't own an extensive collection of Major Matt Mason, but thought it would be kind of interesting here to show the differences in at least the three versions that I have, differences in the paint and markings of copyright and manufacturing. The more highly painted version, one that was in this episode, I believe those would have been from the earlier releases of the figure. And the line moved along here to the end with the black strap figure with no blue or red trim, just very basic paint job. So I'm guessing that's kind of where Matt went as the line went on over the years. So that's the wrap on this episode where I've shown you my process for cleaning, restoring, touching up paint here on a vintage Mattel Major Matt Mason figure. It's my method, maybe not everybody's, but that's just the approach that I've taken here. So be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. If you're interested in a membership, I also have those available now. You just click the join button from here in YouTube. Members get a advanced viewing on new episodes. There are behind the scenes photos, additional info that I share about the episodes, the toys, some figures, different things like that. So if that's something you're interested in, that option is there as well. So, and again, as always, thanks for watching.